Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premiere Networks on Sunday, September 24th, 2017. I am not here. I'm on vacation. Rich Tamura from KTLA very kindly agreed to fill in. I think you'll love Rich, but don't worry, I will be back next week. But now, without further ado, Tech Guy number 1425. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Fracture. Fracture is a photo decor company that prints your photos directly onto glass and gets delivered to your door ready to display right out of the box. Visit fractureme.com/podcast for 10% off your first order and select the Tech Guy so Fracture knows where you heard about him. And by 23andMe. 23andMe's genetics service will let you know what percentage of your DNA comes from places like Italy, Finland, East Asia, or Africa. Visit 23andme.com/twit.
Welcome to the Tech Guy. This is the show where we talk technology and help you get the most out of your gadgets, electronics, computers, and all that good stuff that we love. I'm going to take your calls and answer your tech questions at 8888 Ask Leo. Our website is techguylabs.com. So you might be wondering, wait a second, you don't sound like Leo Laporte. Well, I'm not. It's Rich Tamura. Happy to be here with you. I'm a tech reporter at KTLA 5 in Los Angeles. It's a TV station, and so honored to be filling in for Leo today while he's on vacation. I've been covering technology for a decade. I used to work at CNET, and I do a tech segment that's syndicated across a bunch of TV stations, including stations in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and I just love this stuff. It's so much fun. I get to try out gadgets, tell you what works, what doesn't work, which deserve your hard-earned cash, which don't. And if you want to learn more about me, you can check out my website, richontech.tv. So happy to be here with you, and we're going to take your calls as well at 8888 Ask Leo. So fire up those fingers and start dialing. But it's funny, you know, I was thinking about kind of the questions, how they've evolved over the years when it comes to technology. And it used to be the number one question I got was always about cell phones. People would want to know, hey, Rich, which phone do I get? And it was it's a tough decision, but it's pretty straightforward. You know, I kind of ask people, well, do you like Android? Do you like iOS? Do you like this? Do you like that? What do you do with your phone? Well, now the question has sort of changed. It's evolved. And the most popular question I now get is, hey, Rich, I want to cut the cord. How do I do it? How do I cut the cord? And, you know, it used to be, there's so many options out there. And it used to be just easier to have a DVR. You get your cable company service or your satellite, and you record whatever you want. You watch whatever you want. And that's how it worked for many years. But now people are like, I don't know. I don't need all these random channels. I don't need all this random content. I don't really care about the DVR anymore. So how do I do it? And it's funny because I cut the cord personally a couple of months ago, and it's way more complicated to cut the cord than it is to just have a cable TV service with a bunch of channels on a DVR. And I've realized this the hard way because every time my wife asks me, hey, how do I watch this show? I have to sit there and think about it. And I'm like, okay, let me think. Do you use this service? Do you use that service? How does it work? And it's really kind of complicated. And especially when you look at getting your local channels as well, because a lot of people like to watch news and sports, live. And how do you do that when you cut the cord? And half of these services don't really offer that. But I think the problem is Netflix. Netflix made us so comfortable with streaming media that we said, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing experience. It keeps track of my shows. It works on every device I have. It never buffers. I mean, I don't know what miracle technology they have, them and YouTube. They never have to worry about buffering. It always works. And so we got kind of very used to this technology that seemed better than what we had. And so there we have it. 22 million cord cutters and 34 million cord nevers in the US this year, according to data from eMarketer. 34 million cord nevers. When I talk to sort of the younger people out there, they don't even consider signing up for something like cable. They're just, that's not even a consideration. They have Netflix and they might sign up for something else. They might sign up for something else. And usually with Netflix, they're just using someone else's password. I know for my account, I think I've got like 3 or 4 people that are just sampling it, family members that don't want to pay the $12 a month. So let's run down some of these services because I've tried them all, and they all have their pros and cons. The first one is Sling TV. This is the one that you see the most ads for on TV, and they're owned by Dish Network, so that you have to keep that in mind. But I think their heart is in a good place, Sling TV, because they give you the most buckets of channels. They advertise as a la carte, but they're not really a la carte. A la carte would mean choosing individual channels and getting to subscribe to individual channels. You can't really do that with any of these services. You still get a bucket of channels. But Sling does offer the most buckets of channels. You can add on comedies for $5, movie channels for $5, this for $5, sports for whatever you want. And I think that's really nice. The DVR feature is amazing. So they have a DVR that lets you record all the stuff you want, and you can watch it pretty much. It works on most devices. I've encountered some shows where it's like you can't watch this on your device for some reason, but most of the time it works pretty nice, and the DVR is great. So you got that. The problem I find here is the local channels, very hit or miss. And the interface, to me, is kind of confusing. They do it in a different way where they're kind of showing you, hey, here's all the sports on right now, and you can kind of flip through. Here's all the, kids shows on right now, which is nice, but it kind of throws you for a loop. We're so used to that standard grid, which they recently just added on their interface, so I think that a lot of people had that problem like I did. They have lots on demand, everything, and, they're pretty good. DirecTV Now, this is the one I have. I pay $35 a month because I'm grandfathered in, and I get like basically every channel. It's amazing. The problem is, and they do have every channel. The problem is this reminds me of regular cable. And DirecTV Now, you know who they're owned by, obviously, AT&T. And so it basically feels like the DirecTV I had before I cut the cord, because I get a whole bunch of channels, like 100 channels, 150. I don't watch any of them. I only watch like 1 or 2, the Nick Jr. and Disney Jr., because that's what my kids are watching, and that's it. But I like having all the channels because I'm like, if I want to watch a show, I know I have access to it. But they're not much cheaper than regular cable. Their plans are like $65, $75, $85, whatever. Also, their service is very buggy, very slow. No DVR just yet. They're still in beta on that. The on-demand is very spotty with them. So if you want to watch a show, you may not have access to all the episodes of that show, which is really frustrating. But I think the one thing that DirecTV Now is great for is how you can use it to log into all of your different apps. So if you have something like an Apple TV or a Fire TV, it's really nice because your DirecTV Now login works for all those different apps that you have, especially HBO. YouTube TV, this one I was really liking. They've got lots of local channels because that's a priority. They really wanted to make local a big part of the service. So in most of the markets they're in, they have all the local channels. Minus in Los Angeles, the one I'm on, KTLA, they don't have. But I think that's more my company. They're sort of negotiating with all these services right now. But in most parts, you do get a lot of them. And they've been really good about that. Their app is amazing. I mean, it's Google. It's basically YouTube, but for TV. So it works great. It never buffers. I mean, the thing is just super slick. The selection of channels is okay. A lot of sports represented, so that's really cool. But they only offer one package, $35, which is pretty reasonable. Then you can, of course, add Showtime, HBO, and some other stuff. But what they're really good at is the DVR. So you can DVR any show, whatever, watch it. I noticed when I was traveling, some of the shows weren't available to me necessarily where I was. It was kind of weird. So I thought that was kind of strange. But the biggest downside of YouTube TV is that they have no apps. There's no apps for set-top boxes. You have to Chromecast or AirPlay everything that you want to your TV screen. And, we got used to this in my house. My kids would actually kind of have fun picking out a show on my phone, and then I'd, cast it to the TV. But I think that's kind of a pain for the average person. You want to be able to use your remote and navigate on the screen. Those apps are coming. They're just not here just yet. The other thing that's weird is that some of these services, when you record a show on the DVR, like YouTube TV, you actually have to watch commercials, which is kind of annoying because we're cord cutters. We don't want to. There's Hulu TV and PlayStation View. They're pretty good, but they don't get the mass acceptance that the other ones do. One thing I do think is really cool, if you just want over-the-air channels, check out this service called Tablo. This is a standalone device that you hook up to an antenna in your house. I have this thing, and I get all my local channels and over-the-air DVR. You can pay $5 a month if you want. I do for like 14 days of guide data. Maybe it's 28 days, but you don't have to. So once you spring for the equipment, which is a couple $100, a hard drive and this little DVR, that's it. It's all you got to pay. and now you have all your local channels and you can record them. The main problem with that is that when you go to tune in a channel or watch a show that you've recorded, it can take a little bit because it has to buffer because it's going over Wi-Fi. But yeah, cord cutting definitely happening here in the U.S. and a lot more people doing it. Phone number for the show, 8888-ASK-LEO, 8888-ASK-LEO. I'm Rich DeMiro filling in for Leo Laporte today. We're going to take some of your questions coming up after this. Welcome back to the Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMiro filling in for Leo Laporte today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being with me. Phone lines are open at 8888-ASK-LEO. This is where we talk about your tech, find out what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what do you love, what do you hate, and if you have tech support questions, well, I'm here to help. And we've got a lot of people on the phone line, so let's go to Kim. Kim Schaefer, our call screener extraordinaire. Kim, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you. So are people calling in or what? They're all wondering who the heck I am, huh?
And maybe they're watching football, too.
Oh.
It is Sunday.
That's true.
All. Anyway. No, but we have some calls. And on line one, we have Ron from Laguna. And he's got a Samsung phone. And he needs to transfer all that data over to his Motorola phone. And needs to know how to do it. Hopefully you can help him out.
Well, as a person who's set up a bazillion phones because I test them all out, we'll see what I can do for Ron. Let's bring in Ron from Laguna. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Ron, you're on with Rich.
Yes. Hello, Rich. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing reasonably well.
So I'm told you need some help. What can I help you with?
Okay. I have a Samsung S4, and I always own my own phones. I had the chance to buy a brand new Motorola Moto X. Paid around $200.
Okay.
And I want to transfer everything from the Samsung to the Motorola.
Okay.
And Samsung to Samsung is not a problem. Motorola to Motorola is not a problem. And perhaps transferring it to the computer and then transferring it to the other phone is the right way to do. But I'm sure there are apps to do that.
Oh, yeah. What do you want to transfer?
Everything.
Everything. So phone numbers, photos, contacts, text messages?
Text, voicemails, everything.
Okay. All right. So, voicemails. Okay. Well, voicemails are handled through the carrier. So if they're on the server, usually your carrier will keep them on a server, so they should be transferred over automatically. So you shouldn't really have to worry about that one. But the rest of the stuff, let's talk about this. So I'm a guy who is always setting up new phones because I'm always testing out new phones. And here's the thing. Nowadays, we have this beautiful thing called the cloud. The cloud. It never rains in the sunny cloud of data. So all of your stuff is basically in the cloud. And that's where you need to get it if it's not already in there. So if you're on a Samsung phone, you've basically synced this device with Google. I assume you've signed in with a Google account. So once you do that, you can pretty much transfer your contacts and your photos using Google Photos. Any documents that you have on there, like anything that you've made have downloaded locally to your phone, you can just go ahead and upload to like Google Drive. And then you have you got your pictures, your contacts, your data from your documents. The only two things that you're going to have to worry about really is your call log and your SMS messages. Those are not going to transfer over through Google, okay? So basically when you sign in on your new Moto X with Google, everything should come through with your contacts and your calendar, your contacts, your photos. If you upload them to Google Photos, make sure that you turn that on and back up everything. But the only thing that you need to worry about really are these text messages and your call log. And I use a handy little app. I think let me just find it here, SMS Backup and Restore. And it's a pretty simple app. All you got to do is download it, SMS Backup and Restore, go in Google Play, and that's all you have to do is just back it up. It literally is like 2 clicks. And you back up your SMS messages, it'll back up your call logs, and then basically you download that app onto your new phone, and it will download all of that stuff back to your phone. So I've used this a bunch of times when I transfer devices and I want to keep my text messages. Most of the time I kind of just let them go because I'm like, whatever. But this is something you can do. SMS Backup and Restore. And then, of course, make sure you're signed into Google, Ron, for all the rest of the stuff. And you should be good to go. It's pretty simple, actually. Thanks so much for calling today. I appreciate it. All right. Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy nowadays with all these cloud services to transfer this stuff. So let's see. Who do we have next? We have Howard from Chatsworth. Howard, you're on with Rich.
Hey, Rich. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Got a question for you. I've been thinking about updating to the iPhone 8, and I have an iPhone 7 Plus with the 256 memory. Is it really worth it to go
Save your money.
Huh?
Sorry, did I say something? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say save your money. 7S? I'm sorry, you said a 7 Plus you have?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, what are you trying to get out of this new device? Is it speed? Is it camera? Like, what are you wanting from your new device?
Well, I was reading that the iPhone 8, if I'm not mistaken, has a better camera, it's a little faster, and better battery life.
Okay. Battery life I can't speak to. I have not noticed anything on my iPhone 8 Plus about battery life. I think the iPhone battery life is pretty good in general. It's pretty amazing, actually. So I don't really think that's going to be an issue. The A11 Bionic processor is definitely improved, and you'll notice a snappier experience overall on your device, but the 7 Plus is still going to be just fine. I mean, that was the phone I had before this one, and I didn't notice any slowing down, even with iOS 11. So the other thing is the camera. So that's really what it comes down to, is the speed and the camera. So now if you're doing AR stuff, if you're looking to kind of play with all those new AR apps, the 8 Plus will definitely do a better job with those. But the camera, look, it's better, but it's not spend another $800 better. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Now,
Right.
The good news is, Howard, is that you have a 7 Plus on the resale market. Is this phone paid off or not?
No, not yet. I got a little ways to go on it.
And is your carrier offering you any sort of deal to upgrade?
I have Verizon. Yeah, I think they're offering like $300 or something, I think, but I still owe, I think it was around $600, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so you owe $600. They might give you $300, so that splits the difference to $300. So you're basically paying $300 for the new phone, because I assume the price monthly is going to be about the same.
Right.
It's maybe $5 more, because the device is a little bit more expensive than the historic devices. But you got a 256. So the other thing you're going to get as well is obviously wireless charging. So if you're really interested in that, that could be something you want. So
Right.
I'm not convinced the wireless charging is a must-have thing just yet on the iPhone. It's nice to have. It's certainly convenient. But again, you're going to be spending more money to buy some wireless chargers, which are, minimum, $20 to $50, depending on what you get. So
Now, do you know if the iPhone 8 also has wire charging?
yeah,
Plug?
you can still plug it in the way you used to. It's just now you have two options. You can wirelessly charge it, or you can charge it the old way, where you just plug it in. So I'm going to say, I mean, if it depends what kind of phone guy you are. For me, I always love having the latest and greatest. You know what I mean? If an app starts to load kind of slow, I'm sitting there like, oh no, I need a new phone. So if you're like that, if you're like me, then go with the new one. It's only going to be, like I said, a couple $100 more to get the new device. But otherwise, I think the 7 Plus is going to be just fine. Howard, thanks so much for calling today. This is The Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo, 8888 Ask Leo. When we come back, I'll share some cool apps with you, including a new one for travel. Be right back. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in for Leo on this Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me. We've got lots of callers on the line, so I'm just going to go right to Cynthia in the Redlands. Cynthia, you're on with Rich. Welcome to the show.
Rich. Hi. Hey, listen, we cut the cord it's been about 8 months, and we got a Roku. And I thought we paid pretty good price for 3 of them. And then everything stopped working. And I called the Roku 800 number, and they said we had to pay to have the Roku come back on. And I just wanted to know, is that for real? I mean,
No, I don't. Cynthia,
we already paid $100
What's happening here? What do you mean? What do you mean that everything stopped working? Did you get a virus on this thing? What happened?
No.
I never even heard of a virus for a set-top
we went
box.
to go to our Hulu,
Okay.
and it wouldn't come on, and the little Roku came on, and it said you have to check with your subscription or something like that. I was working at the time. My husband got it, so we called the 800, paid the $100.
You paid $100 to someone? Who?
Yes,
Who?
and now they're over there in India.
Oh,
And
Cynthia.
Well, it works now.
I don't know, Cynthia. This sounds a little strange to me. So, number one, here's what you need to do.
Address and everything.
Okay, well, here's what you need to do. Number one, call up your credit card company. I hope you used a credit card for this. Call your credit card company, and you need to tell them that this was not a charge that you made, or you were temporarily insane while you made it. And just tell them that was not you. There's no, look, when it comes to Roku, you don't pay $100. You pay for the box, and then and then you pay for your internet subscription, and you pay for your internet subscription app. So if you have Netflix, you pay them $12 a month. If you have Hulu, you pay them $7.99 to whatever a month. You pay
we don't
HBO
have the
Go.
commercials. Yeah,
Okay,
but
so you pay them a little bit more.
But everything quit working on that Roku.
Okay, well, here's what you got to do. So you call your credit card company, tell them you're not paying this $100. Like, give me a break. This is a total scam. Number two, you go into your Roku and you do a factory reset. Okay, so that's going to bring your Roku back down to earth. Okay, it's going to make it work like the way it worked when you first got it. So, are you sure this is a Roku, like a real Roku?
Yes.
Okay, where'd you buy it?
I got it at Walmart.
Okay. So it's weird because, I mean, do you have teenagers in the house?
No.
So it's weird because the odd thing, and this is what concerns me, is that you got a message on your Roku box with an 800 number to call. Now, on a Windows computer or on the internet, that's that happens all the time. You get scammed, and it's like, you call this number, and they tell you that you have all this stuff wrong. But on a Roku box, I've never heard of that unless you were browsing the internet and there's a pop-up.
It didn't. There was no 800 number on that Roku. I had to go on the internet.
Oh, so you just found some
And I
number.
went to the home page, and that was the number that popped up.
Okay. Well, okay. So that's what you need to do.
Okay.
Realistically, you gotta call your credit card company, get the charge reversed. You're done with these people in India. There's no scenario where Roku would do something like this. So you need to just make sure that you're all good to go. And again, factory reset the box. You can find instructions on the Roku support website. Basically, you just go into the settings. You look into the settings of the Roku, and it says factory refresh or factory restart or factory reset, whatever you need to do to get that thing back to the factory condition. But man, I hate when that happens because, Cynthia, it's not just you. This happens all the time. I mean, it's like it's a problem on the Windows computers, especially. I've seen these pop-ups. I get these emails all the time from people saying, "Hey, should I call this number? Do I pay the money to this company?" And it's like, no. And in fact, I got it once, and so I called the 800 number just to see kind of what they're doing to people. And I could not believe it. The lady said, "Hey, give me the 9-digit code from your screen right now." And so I did. And it went through, and it was such BS. The whole thing was just one line of trash after another. And immediately they wanted me to pay, $139 to get my computer cleaned out. And it was a Mac, by the way, and it was a Windows thing. So the thing that I do think is odd is that it happened on the Roku, but she said the number didn't pop up on the Roku.
Roku has a page.
Roku has a page?
Yeah, talking about the scam.
Okay, so there's a page on the Roku. Okay, so apparently this does happen to people on Roku. Interesting. So you got to look up the Roku scam and see what the deal is, because apparently this is happening to people on Roku. Yep, will I be charged for customer service or device activation? No, Roku does not charge an activation fee. Wow. Roku technical support. So here's what I think is happening. I think what people are doing is somehow they're getting, and they've got all this stuff on here. Wow. So the URL, really crazy. What a weird scam. What a weird scam. And it's sad because it's targeting people that are just trying to do something good. And, they cut the cord like Cynthia did. And it's like, they're getting paid $100 because she wants to get access to her entertainment. Let's go to Gary in Glendale. Gary, you're on with Rich.
Hey, Rich, thanks for taking my call. Listen, I've got kind of a dumb question, I think, but I've got an old Samsung Galaxy S3 that I've had forever, and I'm thinking about upgrading to the S8 or S8 Plus, and I'm not sure which one's the best, and I'm not sure. I've seen ads for, like, a little cheaper where it says unlocked. Now, I'm not sure what that means. I have T-Mobile, which is the only one that'll work up here in the canyon where I'm at.
Okay, so you've got a Samsung Galaxy S3, you said?
Yes, 3, yeah.
And you want to go with the 8?
Yeah, I was 8 or 8 Plus, and I'm not sure if it's worth going to the 8 Plus or not. I don't know.
Personally, I like the 8 Plus. If you can deal with the larger size in your hand, I really like the 8 Plus because you get a lot more battery life out of it.
Oh,
and
that's one of the problems I'm having with my 3 is the battery doesn't last very long.
Well, basically everything's going to work better on the 8. I mean, you're talking, a couple generations later. So, and the battery life on Samsungs in particular have gotten really good in recent years. So I think you're going to be really happy with that. The 8 Plus, I just like it better. You get much more screen real estate. It's just, you're going to spend all this money on a phone. Might as well get the biggest screen and the best battery size, right?
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
So unlocked versus regular. So here's the thing. If you're not switching providers at all, if you're not going to leave T-Mobile, are you paying for this outright or are you going to do it on a monthly plan?
No, I was thinking about doing monthly because there's no interest.
Yeah, then I would, if you're not, are you going to leave T-Mobile? No, because he said it's the only thing that works by you.
Right, I've had it for years.
So I just go into the T-Mobile store. Don't worry about the unlocked. You don't need it. Because if you're going to keep it for 2 years and use it on T-Mobile or you had your 3. That's been a couple of years at this point. So,
yeah, because I've had the S3 since dinosaurs were on the earth.
Oh, yeah. Did you take any pictures of them with that camera?
I did. That's the other thing. The camera is degrading. I noticed a lot of my pictures that I take now are fuzzy.
Yeah, so you're going to be very happy with it. I say just go with the T-Mobile plan. Just go into the store. It's going to be a lot easier to upgrade. The unlocked is great. It works on any carrier. So if you think of switching or you're hopping to a different carrier, or if you want to use your phone for 2 years, buy it outright and then sell it and get a nice return on it after that. But you're going to be just fine with T-Mobile. So I think you just stick with what you have and just go through their program and just, your payment is going to be, obviously you don't have a payment right now, but you're going to have one.
Right. And I did that before when I bought the S3, and that was no big deal.
But the way you drive your phones, you're definitely getting a lot of use out of them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, really good. That solved the problem for me, Rich. I appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Happy to help, Gary. Thanks so much for calling from Glendale today. All right. You're listening to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro filling in for Leo Laporte, and we'll have more of your calls and questions after this. 8888 Ask Leo. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, sitting in today for Leo Laporte, who is vacationing. Well-deserved, by the way, just seeing how much he does to do this show every day. This is a lot, so I'm having a blast. I'm the tech reporter for KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles. So if you want to know more about me, you can check out my website, richontech.tv. Let's go right to the phone lines. We have Jeff in Maryland. Jeff, you're on with Rich. Well, I don't think that worked out. Let's go to our next caller here. We have Scott in Huntington Beach. Scott, you're on with Rich.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Great. Had a question about the new Apple Watch 3. Is the heart rate monitor a lot better in this watch than the last one?
It is. So that's one of the things they improved, actually, is the heart rate. They added a few kind of a deeper heart rate kind of metric to it, as well as some other sensors. So there's now a barometric. I'm not a big, I don't really hike. I do hike once in a while, but apparently, basically you're going to get better readings for your health sensors on this new watch.
Good.
And so that's kind of where they're at with this device. I mean, obviously there's improvements in speed, but the sensor has been improved for the heart rate. You get a deeper understanding of what that heart rate monitor is collecting. That's what I understand. So why are you most interested in that?
Well, because I've come up with a thing where my cardiologist said my heart rate's under 50, and I have the Charge 2 by Fitbit.
Okay.
Kind of keeping an eye on it, and it's been down in the low 40s. and stuff, which is very, very low. But I kind of want to keep a really close eye on it. So I was thinking about going back to the Apple Watch.
Yeah, and you have an iPhone, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. I've tried every single wearable that's ever come out, basically. And the statistics and the data you get from the Apple Watch, to me, except for sleep, that's the only thing it doesn't do, which I wish they would add that in. Now, Apple just bought a company recently that does sleep analytics, so I feel like that's the next step for the iPhone or the Apple Watch. They never advertise anything about the Apple Watch with sleep, which is a huge component of life, in a healthy lifestyle, but they never talk about it because they don't have it. That's why they always talk about how it does your fitness and your heart and all that stuff. But the other feature you might be interested in, Scott, is this new, it's a new health feature with your heart rate. So it actually will tell you if your heart rate is elevated when you're not doing anything. Now, I know you have kind of the opposite issue where your heart rate is lower than normal, but this will tell you if your heart rate is higher than normal when you're not doing anything. So that's the other kind of metric they added in as well. I'm looking at my iPhone right now. It's telling me my resting heart rate is 26 or 76, and then I've got something called heart rate. Where did it just go? Heart rate variability. I don't know what that means, but it says 50 milliseconds. What's that?
Yeah. I
mean, this is when you talk about really deep data from your heart rate. I mean, here's what I'm getting right now. I see a scale of my entire a graph of my entire heart rate from the moment I had my watch on yesterday till the moment I woke up. I took it off for sleep, obviously. Minimum, maximum, I worked out. I could see I had 150 today when I went to the gym. So 50 to 149. My resting rate, 52. Walking average, 93. And then elevated heart rate notifications is the one I'm talking about. And then while you're breathing, how your heart rate is. So I think if you have some sort of medical issue with your heart, and look, this is not a replacement for a doctor or any sort of sound medical advice. But it sounds like you just want to keep the best watch you can on your heart. And I think that this is the device to do that.
Oh, great. Yeah. Is the Watch 3 available now?
It is available now. Now, the only decision you have to make is if you want the one with cellular built in or non-cellular. So
probably non-cellular.
Okay, so the non-cellular is going to be $330, $329, and the cellular version is $400. So and the cellular version you also have to pay $10 a month for extra. So. If you're fine with the $329, I think you're really going to like it. It's a nice upgrade.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Scott, thanks so much for calling today. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, let's see. We have Laura in Florida. Laura, you're on with Rich.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing there in Florida?
I'm doing really, really well.
Are you? Were you anywhere near the hurricane damage?
Yes, we were very fortunate. I am right outside of Tampa.
Oh, wow.
So we were supposed to get the 4, and by the grace of God, we got the 2 instead. So.
Well, happy to hear that.
Yes. I had no power for 11 days.
Oh my gosh.
Some people here, believe it or not, in Hernando County still have no power.
I can't.
No power.
Oh my gosh. I've had the power go out for a couple hours at my house, and I don't even know what to do, and I can't imagine 11 days. What'd you do for those 11 days?
Well, I'm not a TV watcher, so that was okay. I am not really big. I'm not really big on cooking, so that was okay. I got a lot of candles and a lot of. Well, we knew it was coming, so I prepared. Coolers with big chunks. I took. You know what I did? I took the coffee Folgers can, the big ones that you buy in Sam's, and I filled them with water and I put them in the freezer and I made big blocks of ice.
Wow,
in advance. Smart. Yes, and eventually it melts, but let me tell you, it lasts like 3 days. It's really a great thing to do.
Well, thanks for the tip. Now we know. What can I help you with, Laura?
I have an iPhone. I always had my Nokia, and I loved it. My phone, I'm the kind of person, it's not broke, don't fix it. So when it finally did go, it was a dinosaur. And my kids and my dad talked me into the Apple iPhone. I wasn't interested in Apple. I liked my Nokia. I wanted something similar. P.S. I went under pressure with the iPhone. It took me a while to get used to. It's okay. Issue that I've been having since day one is since day one. The first one I had was defective. They gave me another one. So now, I assumed it was new. I've come to find out that, well, when they replaced your new phone, which was only 3 weeks old, by the way.
It was a refurbished model.
It was a reconditioned. Right.
So what's happening with this device now?
The speaker. When anybody calls me, well, when I dial the phone, it starts to dial, it hits itself on speaker. Then I'll take it off. Then the person answers, it goes on speaker. I take it off. Then I'll go. So it's constantly putting itself on speakerphone.
Okay. I think I know what's happening. I think you have a setting in your accessibility, that's basically defaulting to speakerphone when you dial a number or when you have an incoming call. And this is for people that may be hard of sight, and they don't want to, bring this up to their ear, or they just, hard of hearing. Either way, it's a accessibility setting that it sounds like this has been turned on, and you can have headset, you can have speakerphone. So I think you need to turn off the speakerphone option when you go in. So you go into your settings, go into your general, and then you look at accessibility. And by the way, if you haven't seen these settings in here, there's a lot of different things you can do. So I'm looking to see, okay, here we go. Call audio routing. So I'm looking in here and I can see it says automatic Bluetooth speaker or Bluetooth headset or speaker, and then auto answer calls. So I think what's happening is that you have yours set to speaker. And so every time that someone's calling you, your phone is activating that speaker. And you can just switch it back to automatic and you should be okay. So I know it sounds like your phone, it feels sometimes like our phones are possessed and they're doing things that like we didn't really want them to do. But in fact, I had this problem yesterday. I was using my maps and it wasn't calling out the navigation anymore. And I'm like, what's going on? It was just working yesterday. And it turns out that, sometimes when we handle our phones, the screen is still on, and we're actually pressing a bunch of things on these devices that change settings. And that's really 99% of the time what's happening when we think that our phones are a little possessed. There's a little spirit inside them. Phone number for the show is 8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. That's the phone number to get through. Or if you want to go to the website, it's techguylabs.com. So maybe you're driving, you don't need to write anything down. All you have to do is just go to the website, and we put all the questions there, all the answers. So if you need an answer that you heard on the show, just go ahead and search and you will find it. techguylabs.com. I'm Rich DeMiro filling in for Leo Laporte today, and we will have more of your calls, and I'm going to talk about some fun apps coming up after the break. You're listening to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMiro. Thanks so much for joining me. Now let's get a special message from Leo himself.
Let me interrupt for just a moment. Rich, you're doing a great job. Thank you. Don't do too good a job. I want to come back next week, okay? Okay. Our show today brought to you by Fracture. I will be taking a lot of pictures from my trip, of course. I always do. I love photography. But I have to tell you, lately I've been printing them not in a photo book, not on paper, not keeping them stored digitally, but I've been printing them on glass. And I love it. There's something about a photographic print, when it's done really well on glass, it just pops. The colors seem to be more vibrant. The contrast is better. I do a lot of black and white that looks incredible. Let me tell you about the service I use. It's called Fracture. They're really amazing. They're out of Gainesville, Florida. And yes, their operations are in great shape. Whew, that's a relief. What I like about them, and so you're getting it from the U.S., U.S.-sourced materials. They have a carbon-neutral factory. They're really great people. They kind of made this up themselves, and they tried it, and they said, this works really well. And they've perfected it over time. What you're going to get is a print that's right on glass, and you get to choose the size. And I'm telling you, you can take small prints all the way up to, giant size for hanging up over your mantle. That's like more than 2 feet wide by 1.5 feet tall. It's big. And if you have a portrait or a picture that you're so proud of, maybe a family picture, or I took a picture on my last trip that, I feel like this is the best shot I've ever taken. That's the one I printed. It looks great. You put it on your mantle or in your living room, or you put it in your office. People will say, wow, that looks great. Where'd you get that? I took it. I took it and I printed it at Fracture. Available in portrait, landscape, square format. You can have borders or not. They have an advanced editor that lets you make it monochrome if you want to make a black and white print. You can change the border. You can resize it. It just looks great. And by the way, what a great gift. You want to give a picture of the family to grandma or grandpa? You know, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could use this. They ship them in a really nicely, really securely. They're already to hang, by the way. They've got the backing on them. The backing has a place for a hook. It comes with a screw in the mounting, so it's ready to go. It lets your photos stand out, and you can match, of course, any decor or style. Jammer B did one. He took a Prisma, right? Took a photo, processed it through Prisma. They have a lot of great photo apps on your camera phone. Then uploaded it to Fracture, made a beautiful print. Every Fracture comes with a 60-day happiness guarantee, so you're sure to love your order. FractureMe.com/podcast if you want to try this out. FractureMe.com/podcast. 10% off your first order, but you have to mention the tech guy right there on the screen. It'll have a checkbox. Please tell them you heard it here. And try it. I think you're going to love it. I really do. FractureMe, FractureMe.com/podcast for 10% off your first order. And we thank Fracture so much for the support of the Tech Guy Show. Now back to Rich.
Welcome to the Tech Guy. This is the show where we talk about tech, take your questions, and talk about all those little devices in your pocket, in your home, whatever you got. The big bag phone you used to have. Remember those things? I think we've moved past those now. Now the phones are so small we lose them. But yeah, we'll talk about them. 8888 Ask Leo. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number to get in. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in today for a vacationing Leo Laporte. Leo will be back, but in the meantime, I'm here holding down the fort and taking your questions. And if you don't know who I am, well, I'm the tech guy for KTLA 5 News in Los Angeles. So if you live in LA, you know me from there, or maybe you don't know me from there. Who knows? But we're all friends here. That's the good news. Coming up, we're going to have our photo guy, Chris Marquart, at the bottom of the hour. He's going to talk about photography, and I have a little theory I'm going to run past him when it comes to the new Apple Watch Series 3, and we'll see what he says about it. It's a crazy theory. You're going to think I'm crazy, but it's a good theory, and we'll see. And I think it affects parents and just anyone who takes pictures. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Chris Marquart, bottom of the hour. You know, we love our apps. We've got so many great apps on our phone. I'm an app guy. I love downloading apps, trying apps. It's funny because we download when phones first came out, we started downloading all these apps for them. And then now we've kind of reached a plateau where nowadays you have to kind of get an app recommendation from your friend to download it, or you have to like hear from someone that you trust. You don't just kind of seek out apps anymore, you know, or you see an ad on Facebook, you're not really like, oh, let me download that. But here's a couple apps that I have just been loving that I think you should check out. One of them is, well, these are money apps right now. One of them is called Earny, E-A-R-N-Y. And what I love about this app, so basically what it does is it tracks the purchases that you make, places like Amazon, Sears, whatever, and it will look for price drops. Prices change on these websites all the time. And what happens is we price shop before we buy stuff. But once you buy something, when was the last time you checked the price on it? You don't even want to know what the price is because you're like, I'm going to feel bad if it went down. So this app does it for you. And basically it just watches for price drops. And if it sees one, it will collect a refund for you. Say, hey, we'll reach out to that company and we'll get a refund for you. Sometimes it's $1, sometimes it's $2. Could be more depending on, you know, what the thing was that you bought. And this keeps track of lots of different purchases. Amazon is the big one, of course. That's where I buy a lot of my stuff. And so you can track your purchases there. It also works with like the top, 20 or 30 retailers. So Sears, Walmart, Nike, Target, Old Navy, Kohl's, Costco. I mean, a lot of these different places that you shop at. So here's how it works. And this is kind of the pros and cons of it. The pro is you get money back. So basically, if you spend money at these places and a price drops on them, you're going to see some cash come back to you, which is really cool. It actually makes me feel more confident in buying things at any time that I need them because I'm like, all right, well, I know if the price goes down, Ernie's got my back. And Ernie is this funny little character they created with these big eyes and kind of almost like Bart Simpson he looks. But yeah, that's kind of their mascot. The con is you kind of have to hand over information to your accounts. So you have to put a lot of trust in this app. And I'll explain how it does the price match as well. But, the reality is you got to give your email address to this app. Not just your email address. You have to give your email account access. So with Gmail, you sort of log in with your Gmail, and it scans your Gmail for receipts that come from companies. So that's how it knows when you bought these things. It also works with other email providers as well. So that's the number one thing. You have to trust them for that. Number two, you have to hand over your account to Amazon. You got to log in with Amazon because it needs to know. Amazon, I don't even think sends me confirmations anymore. Maybe it's a setting I had, but I don't even get a confirmation when I order from Amazon. I think it all happens through the app. But basically, it'll scan your Amazon purchases through the account access and look for the drops there. And then for the other companies, it'll look for the email receipts. And it's not looking through all of your emails. It's looking for it's looking for the return address from the email. And it knows, oh, this one's coming from Sears. Let's check it out. Let's see what this receipt says. Now, the way it works for the refunds is like a lot of stores like Amazon doesn't do refunds anymore. If you call up Amazon and you say, hey, this price dropped, they used to be able to just give you your money back. Now they don't do that anymore. So how this works is it actually goes through the price protection on your credit card. So that's the other element to this, is that you have to link a credit card to Ernie. So, it works with Chase, works with Citibank, and basically it'll go through your price protection on your credit card. And the $1 million idea of this is that they have automated the whole system. So the little bots keep track of the prices, and their little bots take screenshots and submit it to your credit card company, who then reviews it and says, okay, we will give you this refund. And then in my case, I get a paper check, which is really annoying because I have to deposit like $1.72 into my account, but I get a bunch of them. And I'll tell you some of the recent refunds I've gotten. $2.10 back on my squeezy cup I bought for my kid, little water bottle. $2.86 back on my furniture wall straps. These are, I live in earthquake country. And well, just if you have kids, you want to secure your furniture to the wall. I got $2.86 back on that. $4.31 back on my command strips, which I use to hang everything in my house. $8.25 back on my vintage lights I bought for the backyard. And this was my best one recently. I bought my kid a little play vacuum. It's like a Dyson vacuum, but it's a play one. My kid had to have it. I got $9.12 back. And the thing only cost $20. So, I got half the price back. And it came back the day after I bought it, which is crazy. Again, the app is called Ernie, E-A-R-N-Y. And that's how they get around the no price matching by these retailers. Because the retailers, they're all algorithm based at this point. So they don't have time to do the price matches anymore because they're saying, or the price refunds, because you know what? The prices are changing on a daily basis like they've never have before. So Amazon's like, look, we know that the prices change all the time. When that's it. So this goes through your credit card, like I said, and that's the other part, is that you have to use your credit card. I personally prefer using my debit card, but I have to use my credit card when I make my purchases for this to work. So some cards will actually give you a credit on your account, others won't. I think it's a brilliant idea, and how they make money, they take 25% at the end of the month. So whatever they get you, I think last month they got me $25, so they charge you 25% of that. So you just get a charge on your card for a couple of bucks, however much 25% is of what they got you. So you're not losing any money. It's basically found money that they're getting back for you. So Ernie, if you want to check it out, Ernie.co is the website, Ernie.co, or you can search for that as well. Another app I really like, this one's kind of cool. It's called Truebill. Truebill. And this is an app that keeps track of all your subscriptions. So for me, I don't know about you, but I sign up for all these things like Netflix and whatever, and they're only like $5, $10 a month, $12 a month, but they all add up. And you forget because you sign up for something and you just kind of see it on your credit card and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I do have that. Well, this one keeps track all in one place, which is really nice. So you can see a list of all your subscriptions, and the other thing it does, it adds them all up, which is kind of scary. You don't think you're spending that much money on all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you realize you are when you add up Netflix and Spotify and whatever else you have. The other thing is it gets things like Amazon Prime membership fees, like the membership fees you pay once a year. It will also find those as well. So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I do. And it kind of helps you budget, kind of helps you realize how much you're spending. But here's the key part of this whole thing. They help you cancel these services automatically. So not only do they provide instructions underneath, like let's say it finds a Spotify membership and underneath it'll say like, want to cancel this? And you can just click it and it'll give you the instructions. If it's not easy to cancel, like a gym membership, it will cancel that. It will actually go out and do it for you. And I know this from experience because I used it to cancel my kid. Yeah, my kid had a gym membership, one of these little kid gyms. And, it was like a couple bucks a month, whatever it was. And I kept getting charged even though I wasn't using it. Truebill actually communicated with this company, sent all the right letters, and did everything they needed to get this charge canceled. It was amazing, and they did it all for free. I don't even know how they make money off of that. Again, that website is truebill.com, Truebill.com. Just trying to save you guys some money. I'll take more of your calls. Coming up, 8888 Ask Leo. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in today for Leo Laporte. Happy to be with you on this Sunday. Thanks so much for listening. We're going to talk about technology and help you get the most out of all the stuff you have at home, all those electronics that you've paid some good money for. And let's go right now to Joe in Gardenia, California. Joe, you're on with Rich.
Hey, how you doing, Rich? Thank you for your website and Twit and Channel 5. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. The trifecta.
Yeah.
What can I help you with today?
Yeah, I'm just trying to study apps. I'm a developer. I've been making apps, and it's so painful to look at everything out there and read everything out there. I was just wondering if you had an insight. Like, I was looking at VR and face recognition or something like that.
So you're trying to, develop an app?
Yeah, no, I have developed apps. In fact, I made one called noparkticket.com that tells you if you're going to get a park ticket or not.
Oh, like a parking ticket?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea. I always get those. I cannot figure out those signs for the life of me. And I think, so what's going on with that app?
Well, it's done, and I finished the Android and the iPhone app. It's bare bones right now at noparkticket.com, but I'm working with Intrix. I'm sure, have you ever heard of Intrix, the people that study everything?
Like Inrix, the traffic people? Those kind of...
Inrix, correct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have a lot of traffic data. So, yeah. So here's the deal. I think that you're onto something with the iPhone and the augmented reality. So here's my vision for you, and I'm just going to give this to you for free. And Joe, you can run with it and make $1 million on it. But I think you already have the app foundation, because for me, when I park in a spot, I can never figure out those signs. I literally look at them and I read them, and every city's different, but in Los Angeles and in big cities, you can never figure out if you can park there. And so I think you have the AR app where literally you aim the phone at the sign using your camera, and it will, geotag where you are, and it kind of knows based on that. But then you basically just see like a giant red X or a giant green check mark. And then if it's somewhere you can park with a check mark, it'll tell you right at the bottom, how long you can park there for. So it's like check mark, good to go, or thumbs up, whatever you want to do. And, you're good till 6 p.m. And I think that's a brilliant use of the new AR kit from Apple. And I think you'll be pretty successful with that one. So good luck, Joe. I love it. And LA is obviously a huge market for that, but you can do that, and you can translate that in a lot of different markets. The biggest challenge for you is going to be getting the data behind it. And here's the thing. The app has to work. You can't have people using the app twice. The first time it works and the second time it doesn't, because guess what? They're not going to use it the third time. So you need to make sure your data is really good. And there are some apps out there that do similar things, but there's one called Spot Hero. But, so you're up against some other competitors that are doing similar things, but you just have to be better than them. And you have to have that data. And I know Spot Hero, a lot of it is user-generated data, but people don't really feel like typing in all the nuances of parking signs into an app every time they park. So you have to keep that in mind. You got to make it easy, you got to make it work, and you got to make it fun. If I got out of my car in a place and I was, running to an appointment and I saw that there was a sign, and I just aimed my phone, and immediately I can tell in a second if it works, if I can park there or not, then there you go. Good call. Thanks so much. Aaron is in San Diego. Aaron, what's going on?
So we're moving to a new place, and we need a new TV. I've got a Vizio that's probably about 4 or 5 years old, and as we watch it, it just decides to reboot itself. And it's
that's not good. While you're watching a show?
Pardon?
While you're watching a show?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
And it's happening more and more, so it's obviously not going to make the cut is our new TV at our new place. But when I'm looking at prices and our price range, probably about $1,200–1,300.
Oh, wow. You can get a great set for that price.
Yeah. So my question would be, one, what would your recommendation be? And two, because some of the things that I'm seeing are other Vizios. Is that a known Vizio problem, or is that a known, just kind of a known? Okay.
I've had 2 Vizios. I had my first Vizio for at least 6 years. And it was literally one of the first. I was one of the first people in the world to feature Vizio on national TV on the Today Show back in, gosh, what was it, 2006? And it basically launched their product line. And I bought that. I ended up buying that TV because it was so good. I was like, I can't believe this was back when TVs were so expensive. And Vizio came out of the gate with like a $2,000 model. And I was like, this is crazy. How do you get a flat screen HD TV for $2,000? And so I went and I actually bought it after that segment. And I had that TV for many years. And when I replaced it, I couldn't believe like how big and clunky and whatever it was. It was only like 40 inches too. But Vizio makes a great set. So for $1,200, you're actually looking at a pretty reasonable set. So here's how I rank the TVs these days. I think Vizio is going to give you, and then I have a new Vizio, by the way, which is 4K, and it works great as well. So how I rank the TVs. So Vizio is going to be the most bang for your buck. So if you have $1,200 to spend, you're going to get a very nice Vizio set, and you're going to get all the bells and whistles on their device. So I think that you get the most bang for your buck. So $1,200, you can probably, spend even less and get a good set from Vizio with that. So, and by the way, the chat room is saying if you want to keep this TV as like a spare, maybe blow the dust out of the current TV and replace the power cord. So you never know. That could be causing some issues as the power cord. Maybe it's not getting a good connection. But when it comes to the TVs, I think Sony definitely is up there at the top. Those TV sets, you're going to pay a premium, but you're going to get pretty much the best picture that I've seen on a TV set. And then after that, I'd say, it's kind of a split between LG and Samsung. So LG and Samsung also have fantastic sets as well. And what it really comes down to, too, is you have to decide about the software on this TV. So the Sony TVs have the Android software on them. So you get a version of Android TV. It's a little hit or miss. So I actually don't recommend buying a TV for the software. But if you're going to go that route, you need to keep in mind what the software is on that TV. So I think that the LGs of the world and the Samsungs of the world are really nice. But the Sony is going to be the best, but you're going to pay the premium for it. And then Vizio, like you had, you're going to be great. It's just going to be not the best picture in the world. I can tell on mine. I'm not a video file, but I can tell on my Vizio it's not as good as my Sony. And that's just me as a regular random person that is not a video person. But I can tell the Sony is really nice because when people come to my house, they say, wow, what kind of TV is that? That's amazing. And the LGs and the Samsungs are pretty much the same way. Vizio, you're not going to get that wow factor, I don't think. But I think that their TVs are great value. So I would recommend going to Costco and finding a TV that they sell there. Usually they sell fantastic values there when it comes to TVs. And let's see, what are we in? We're in October. I mean, really the best time to buy a TV is kind of Super Bowl is a good time to buy. It's not the best prices, but it's definitely a good time to buy. So before that is always nice. But yeah, go to Costco and see what they have. And you can definitely get some good deals there. All right, coming up on the show is Chris Marquart. He is our photo guy. We're going to talk about all kinds of great stuff, including the iPhone X. Is that going to revolutionize photography? And I'm going to run by my weird Apple Watch photography theory by Chris and see what he thinks. You're listening to The Tech Guy. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. This is the show where we talk about technology, answer your calls, and have a little fun as well. I'm Rich DeMiro, filling in for the vacationing Leo Laporte, and we've talked about a lot of great stuff, and we still have lots more to do. Joining me now is Chris Marquart. He is the photo guy, and he runs a great podcast for the past 12 years called Photography Tips from the Top Floor, tipsfromthetopfloor.com, and Discover the Top Floor is his website. Chris is joining us now from Germany. Chris, thanks so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Hi, Rich. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So let's just get down to the what everyone's talking about these days right now. We saw the launch of a new iPhone, so that brings in a new generation.
A whole bunch of new iPhones, right?
A whole bunch of new iPhones, and it's a whole new generation of photography opportunities for people. They're wondering, are my photos going to be better? Are they going to look better? Tell me what you think about iPhone 10.
Well, technically, those photos will be technically better. They will have better pixels, better image stabilization. The stuff that Apple does in its cameras in the phones is amazing. I mean, we're looking at their signal processing, the ISP they call it, the image signal processor. They have this new portrait mode in the Plus model, in the 8 Plus and in the X or 10, whichever way you want to call it, which does some, well, it looks at the depth information and changes the light on that photo kind of ad hoc. The auto HDR now, I mean, it's so good now that they will decide for you when it's better to take an HDR photo and just delete the other one. And up to now, it was kind of normal to have a choice between those photos. The color range is wider. One of the things that is really cool, by the way, which isn't talked about much, is what they call the slow sync flash, where they will well, up to now, when you use the flash in the iPhone, it does this short burst of light, and then if something is in the front, it gets lit like a person, and the background is not getting lit because it's just too far away. And now they will slow down the shutter, so they will take a long exposure and then fire the flash, which means that the background will now also have more light.
So the background has more
Pro
details.
photographers have done this for a long time. We call that dragging the shutter, and they've implemented this now in the iPhone. Yeah, and just other things like 4K at 60 frames per second in video mode, or 240 frames at 1080p. I mean, that's just crazy.
The downside of those new formats, though, is that they don't necessarily work on all computers. I'm seeing because there's a setting inside the camera that says, "Hey, do you want maximum efficiency when it comes to your formats, or do you want maximum compatibility?" So is that just a in-between thing as codecs are updated on these programs we use?
I would think so. I mean, that's the new the HEIF format and other encoding formats that they use for their files to save a lot of space. And as I believe, when you export something from, like, let's say Apple Photos, that it will, if you take it to an external device, will automatically be converted to JPEG for you. So it's trying to be a good citizen, and I do believe that's kind of an intermediate thing. But the technical side of that photography is one thing, and as a photographer, I can only remind people that even with all the new tech in there, it won't really relieve you from doing a good image composition, from kind of deciding what you point the camera at, from which angle, the timing when you press that shutter button. You are still kind of in charge of making sure
taking the
you
picture
shoot when the light is nice, for example.
Right.
Even though that is now being watered down as well. I mean, that's another thing that the iPhone has been doing, starting with the iPhone 7, is taking depth information into consideration. You have, especially with the Plus models, they have I think 9 layers of depth or something. So they will use that information and do the portrait mode to drop the background out of focus, which for, I'd say, most professional photographers is still not quite there, but for most other people, it's a miracle that you can do this with a phone of that size,
for the
average
average Joe like me. For the average Joe like me that's not a photographer, I'm seeing the pictures come off, the top phones, not just the iPhone, but I mean the Samsungs as well.
They're all doing this, yeah.
I mean, well, yeah.
Well, mostly.
I mean,
the iPhone, I think, is still the best one of the bunch at this point, and they are just piling on top of that. They are, I don't know, how many hundred people do they have just for the phone?
Several. I mean, I think that
camera
report was 600 on CBS News, or one of
the
least. Yeah, I mean,
at least. Yeah.
And not only that, but from what I've been told from Apple with meeting with them, is that when you slide open your camera, it used to be swipe up, but now when you slide open the camera, it's already doing like 300 computations the second you open that camera. So it already knows kind of like what you're seeing, what you're looking at, what it should be adjusting, what it's looking forward to.
That's the other thing that gives most traditional camera manufacturers a bit of a nightmare, because you have this whole engine now that looks at it, and the iPhone knows this is the sky, this is the grass, this is a person, that's a face, that's the skin, and it treats those differently. And most compact cameras nowadays can't really keep up with that. So
oh wow, that's a really interesting
the
point.
entire compact camera market is melting away because of Apple at this point.
Well, I'll tell you my theory in a second, but first tell me, I have a theory on that, how Apple actually might help them. But tell me about the fall. I mean, I live in Los Angeles, which there's no nice contrast of pictures to take. But the last time I went to the East Coast for a wedding last year, and I had my Pixel, I could not believe the pictures I was taking on that thing of kind of the changing season.
Oh, and that's in full swing right now. I mean, we're almost getting towards the end of that in some places in the United States. I mean, you will get the best pictures if you choose the right time, and that is the golden hour. If you go out and shoot within the last 2 hours before sunset, that light is just magic, and that works so well with these golden leaves and the brown leaves and the green leaves and all this mixture of colors that you see on the trees and on the ground. That light will change everything. So don't try this at noon, try it in the evening, and you will be happy with pretty much any camera, by the way.
All right, you want me to tell you my theory, or you do the photo assignment at the end?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so let me tell you my theory. So I know you said the point-and-shoot camera could be dead, but I think that the Apple Watch with cellular might bring back the point-and-shoot, not just the point-and-shoot, but I think more like the DSLR. So, I mean, I get it. There's a bunch of people that love DSLRs, and they're kind of semi-pro or pro, but then there's a whole bunch of middle people like me that I want better pictures, but I kind of like the convenience of having my phone all the time, and I have that camera. But with this new Apple Watch with cellular, imagine this. I'm going to my kid's recital, right? A play, whatever, school play. I don't want to bring another device because I already have my phone with me, so I'm going to take all my pictures there. But now that I have the Apple Watch with cellular, I know I can be connected, and I'm like, I'll leave my iPhone at home. I'll take this nice camera I have from Sony and take even better pictures. Do you think that will happen? Or am I just crazy?
There's a slight chance. No, I don't think you're crazy. I think there's a chance for that. I do not think people will bring a compact camera instead of the iPhone, because the iPhone is the better compact camera for sure. But the nicer camera, yeah, why not? I mean, people will more and more leave the phone in the car at home, wherever, with a better connectivity. I think in the beginning, it's probably mostly people going and using that functionality for specific activities like sports, like in the gym or on a run.
Right.
I personally will bring my bigger cameras anyway.
Well, yeah, you're the photo guy. Real quick, we've got 30 seconds, so I need to get the tech guy photo assignment in. Can you get it in? And
the current assignment is shadow. So you get to take a photo that shows the concept of shadow, and then upload it to the Tech Guy Flickr group and tag it with the word shadow. And we will do the assignment review on October the 8th.
Chris Marquart, discoverthetopfloor.com. Check them out there. We'll have more of your calls at 888-827-5536 after this. Welcome back to the Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in for Leo Laporte. We're talking tech, taking your questions at 8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. Let's go to Richard. It's a good name, by the way.
I agree.
In West LA. Richard, you're on with Rich.
Hi, Rich. Good to talk with you. Thanks for taking charge of this today.
Oh, thank you.
I have an elderly Alcatel phone, which is terrible. In fact, I no longer have a SIM card in it because I have a slightly newer LG phone. Now, the Alcatel allows me to post things on Twitter. The LG no longer allows me to do that. I get a message saying, this is bad, you can't do this, send a report, or okay. Any idea what's going on?
What kind of error message are you getting on the LG?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you exactly. It is not available or something. And then the two options are report or okay, meaning it just the little message goes off.
Okay, so that sounds like an app crashing. It sounds like the app is crashing on the LG. What kind of LG phone is it?
Oh, it's an older one. It's a T-Mobile LG. I guess it must be about 5 years old.
Oh wow, okay.
It's an 8 megabyte, which is one reason I don't want gigabyte, which is one reason I don't want to give it up because every time I look for another T-Mobile one, it's a 4.
Okay, well here's what I would do. It sounds like you have either a problem with that app. So it's a couple things I would do first off. First off, I would uninstall the Twitter app on the LG and then reinstall it and see if that works. Now, I'm sure you've already done that, so that may be just your first step. Second, I would go through and uninstall any app that you don't need on that device because it could be another app that is just wrecking some havoc with the Twitter app and see if that helps. And then finally, there's a little program I like that's called HTC, let's see, Boost Plus. Let's see, and this is an app that basically scans your phone for trash and will kind of delete it. Now, there's a lot of these out there. I don't like any of them except this HTC one. So it's called HTC Boost Plus. So if you just search Boost Plus, +, in the App Store, or Google Play rather, you will find this app, okay? And it's made by HTC. Don't find other apps. Make sure it says HTC Corporation underneath it when you download it. It's got 23,337 reviews, 4.5 stars. It's a really good one. And I would run that on your device and see what it comes up with and see if it gets rid of something that's causing this problem. It's just basically a classic case of an app that was either installed, there was a little problem when it got installed, or another app kind of took control over it and kind of messed it up. But otherwise, that's really the 3 steps that I would take. What are you trying to tweet out there, Richard?
Those 3.
What's that?
Which of those 3 would you do first?
Well, I do them in that order. So the first order, I would definitely uninstall and reinstall. That's kind of like the first thing. Then I would go through and I'd uninstall apps that you don't need. And I'm not saying, no, don't go and uninstall everything. Just uninstall, like if you downloaded some game, uninstall it, if you don't need it. And then the third thing I would do is scan for the Boost Plus and only install that if the first 2 things don't work. So,
by the way, one problem with the wonderful cameras you guys have been talking about is that people brought them to the Hollywood Bowl when I was there last summer, and everybody seemed to be taking pictures of the chorus line that I was watching. Boy, is that annoying.
Well, now that we all have our phones with us, I mean, you see that everywhere, don't we? You live in West LA, the selfie capital of the world. I mean, that's people are taking pictures of their coffee with the little designs on the lattes. You know what I mean?
Well, that's fine, but that doesn't bother me if they take pictures of their coffee. But when there is an audience and I have to see all these flashes going off, that's really annoying. That's not your fault. That's just a side comment. It was really so annoying.
Well, I agree. I mean, here's what's happening.
Doing it.
I tell my wife, it's like everyone is living through the screen. So when you're at a concert, they're not watching the concert. They're watching the concert on their phone screen, which I always find really funny.
You pay all that money to get in there, and then you want to see it on your little screen. That's crazy. Okay, thanks for the help, Rich. I appreciate it.
All right, Richard, thanks so much for joining me today on the Tech Guy. I appreciate it. All right, let's go to Al. Al is in Florida. Al, what's going on?
Rich, thanks for filling in.
Hey, I'm happy that Leo gave me this opportunity. It's like it's just an amazing opportunity, so I love it. I love that he put his trust in me.
Thank you. What I have is replacing 2 defective hard drive on some Toshiba laptop. Can I use I've got to go out and buy the Windows 10 operating system. Can I use one between the 2?
So you have a license for one of those, and you want to install it on 2 computers?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, technically a license is for one device. So depending on, what type of license you have with Windows, sometimes they used to sell like a family pack that would be good for a couple of them, but I don't think that's the case here. So the reality is legally, no. I mean, it's a one and done kind of thing. So yeah, you really can't. Now, will it install? Yes. And here's the thing. Nowadays, it's all done through the internet, like all the activations and stuff. So you can start there and install it on both, but there may come a time when you have to activate the license on one, or both rather. And so there will come a time when the computer will say, hey, you've been using this for 30 days now. Will you activate this or what? Are you thinking of activating it? Because we need you to do that now. And so the problem you might run into is if you do install this on both computers and it seems to work just fine and you're like, oh, cool, I skirted the whole system. Then all of a sudden you start using these computers, you put your photos on there, you put your apps on there, and then all of a sudden it asks you for that activation, and eventually it may lock up and then you lose your stuff. So I don't want that to happen to you, Al, and I think that you just need to go and get the secondary disk. Now, here's the thing. You can just install it on both to start, activate your one license, and on the second one, go to the activation and follow the workflow and see what happens. It'll tell you, hey, we need you to activate this. And next thing you know, it may charge you, a certain amount of money to activate it. Now, there may be cheaper ways of getting that program. It's been a long time since I actually installed, or not installed, but bought a Windows program, because I just have my Windows that are pre-installed on my systems, and that's it. So I don't know how, what the pricing is or how the discounts work on that, but that's my advice, is you don't really want to mess with it, because everything is electronic these days. And so what's going to happen is there will come a time when the computer is going to ask you, hey, it's time to pay up, buddy, and you're going to have to do that. Al, great question, and yeah, power user over there in Florida. Karen is in Colorado. Karen, you're on with Rich.
Yes, I'm currently on Project Fi, and I had a Nexus 6P, and I was one of the, I'm going to say, lucky ones that got a Pixel XL.
Yeah, that's a great phone.
Yes, I'm thinking about changing to T-Mobile, that 55 Plus plan. And I was wondering, will there be, since I'm currently on most of the time on T-Mobile, it shouldn't be any different, correct, in my area?
Well, yeah, if you're already on so the way Project Fi works, in case you're listening and you're wondering, what the heck is this Project Fi? I hear about Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile and Sprint, but I've never heard of Project Fi. That is Google's mobile network. But the way that it works is it's not really Google. They're actually just leasing the lines from T-Mobile and Sprint. So it's kind of a great idea. It uses the best of both networks. So if you're in an area where Sprint has better coverage, it'll just default to Sprint. If you're in an area that T-Mobile has better coverage, it'll default to T-Mobile. So Karen says that she has the T-Mobile defaulting in her area, which works just fine. So the thing about Fi is that it's $20 a month for your base fee, and then you pay $10 per gigabyte. So it's actually not a very good plan when it comes to the unlimited aspect of plans. Most people use about 5 gigs a month of data. So when you do the math there, it's $50, $70 a month. But the trick is that if you don't use any data, or if you use less data than you think, they actually credit you back for the price, which is really nice. No one else does that. But T-Mobile came along, and Karen qualifies for this 55 plus plan that is the 2 lines for $60. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you qualify for that, obviously?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And it says the second person doesn't have to be over 55, so I wanted to bring my nephew on, which is I'm currently paying for his Virgin Mobile, so if I can add him, it's going to be about the same price.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you actually save money in this scenario for sure. How much are you paying for him for the Virgin?
It's $35 a month.
So you're paying $35, and what's your average bill with the Project Fi?
About $35.
Okay, yeah, I say definitely go with the 55 Plus on T-Mobile. I think you're going to save money, and you're going to get the great coverage you know. This is The Tech Guy. More of your calls after this. Thanks so much for watching and listening to The Tech Guy. I've been having a blast filling in for Leo, but let's hear from Leo now.
We'll have a little more with Rich Demura in just a second, but first a word from our sponsor, as they say, and our sponsor is a fun one today, 23andMe. Now, this is something I did years ago, long before they were a sponsor. I thought this was so cool. 23andMe, the name comes from your 23 unique genes that make you who you are. Everybody's unique, right? Unless you're an identical twin. Actually, if you're an identical twin, you get half off, right? Only one of you has to do 23andMe. You don't have to go to a lab or a doctor. You don't have to draw blood or anything. You spit in a little vial. They send you a little tiny little vial You spit in it delicately, seal it up, send it back to them. In 6 to 8 weeks, your report goes online. Your privacy is guaranteed, by the way. Don't worry. And you're going to learn so much about yourself. I mean, starting with your ancestry. They make a map. It's so cool. They say 10,000 years ago, this is where your ancestors were. 100,000 years ago, this is where 150. You could follow their migration across the globe. You could find out how much Neanderthal is in you. I am proud to say 4% Neanderthal. It's not a bad thing, as it turns out. We're learning more and more about them. But that's what's great about this. If you want to get a kid excited about genetics, this is their future. Get their first genetic analysis. Baby's first genetic analysis. 23andMe. If they're old enough to spit, they're old enough to get it. And another thing would be great to get it for other family members, because then you can see like how you're different and how you're the same. You can even find long-lost family members. I found a second cousin with 23andMe. You're going to love it. Check it out. 23andme.com/twit. Discover where your DNA comes from at 23andme.com/twit. For yourself, it is, after all, isn't it, everybody's favorite subject, themselves? It is. I love it. You just could go on and on reading about me. Or for a loved one, 23andme.com/twit. What a great gift. If you're about to get married, you know, hey, honey, let's do our genetic analysis so I know what our kids will look like. 23andme.com/twit. Yeah, it's great fun. Give it a try. Now back to Rich Tamura and more of the Tech Guy Show, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome back to the Tech Guy. This is the show where we talk about technology and help you get all of the value out of your electronics, your computers, your gadgets, your smartphones. We'll take your calls and answer your tech questions at 1-8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. Phone lines are open, so jump on in. If you want more information about anything we mentioned on the show, you can go to techguylabs.com. And you may have noticed by now that the voice is a little different that you're hearing today. I'm Rich DeMuro. I'm filling in for Leo Laporte. He's on vacation, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm the tech reporter at KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles. I've been covering tech for about a decade now. I used to work at CNET, and now I do a TV report all about consumer technology that is syndicated to a bunch of TV stations nationwide. So you may turn on your local news in the morning and see me there. That's where I usually show up. Another place I show up is Instagram. I love Instagram. It's a fun little, man, this has become a platform. This is a platform that has really taken a hold in our lives. And it's really interesting because it started out as just pictures, and it pretty much has stayed that way. I mean, you can't even post a link in Instagram that's clickable, which is pretty fascinating that this product has grown so big and it's stayed pretty simple. Now, there are two places you can post links. One is in your profile, and one is now in Instagram stories, but that's a whole nother thing. Interesting article in the New York Times about how technology, especially Instagram, is changing the way restaurants are doing business. And even restaurant critics, it's actually making their job easier, which is kind of funny. And I notice this. I get pitches all the time from different places, and sometimes restaurants, will pitch me, and I get a pitch that says, we're the most Instagrammable restaurant in America, or we just opened up a new restaurant, and it's totally Instagrammable. What does that mean? Well, it means that everyone's taking pictures of their food before they eat it now. And so restaurants have to change the way they think about food. And critics are, like I said, their job gets easier because now everyone's taking pictures of food, so they don't mind taking pictures of their food anymore. They were the only ones that used to do it, apparently. Restaurant designers are thinking about the lighting in the dining room just so you can take better pictures for Instagram. So it used to be all these restaurants had those dangling Edison bulbs, you know the ones that look really cool. They even have them on the Twit sets. They just look really cool. They're kind of that old school light bulb. Well, they can't use those because guess what? They don't light up the food well enough. So they now need better lighting on the tables, and they're installing these little spotlight lights. They point straight down on the table, which helps you get a better looking photo for Instagram. More contrast of the plate and the table. I mean, how crazy is that you have to have different lighting in restaurants? We have people in the chat room saying that restaurants include studio lighting at every table. There are some restaurants, I bet, that you can order, hey, can I get a studio kit along with my hamburger? I'd like to take some pictures of this thing before I eat it. By the time you eat it, it gets cold. I've been guilty of this. I do it at home sometimes. I'll take a nice, if I cook a nice meal, I'll take a picture of it. Why not? I think it's fun. I think it's fun to remember what you ate sometimes. If you made a really good meal, you just like relive it by looking at the picture. Now, I don't post many of my food pictures to Instagram, but I don't mind seeing them, actually. In fact, I've bookmarked, I have an entire collection on Instagram of good-looking food, and I'll remember it, and I'll see it, and I'll be like, oh, that cheeseburger looks really good. I'm going to that restaurant. And I'll kind of bookmark it. You know, you press and hold a picture on Instagram, and you can put it in what's called a collection. And so I have a collection for food. And, you know, I have a collection for inspiring quotes that people share that I like. I never look at them, but I collect them. I have family ones, you know, different ones. And it's a fun little feature on Instagram that you can check out. You know, the best Instagrammers also get free meals. So now we live in a world where you can build an entire following. I was listening to a podcast about how these Instagram food artists basically built an entire business around taking pictures of food for people, for businesses, and they'd pay them a couple $100 and they would post them to Instagram and all the social networks, and you know, the companies would love it, the restaurants would love it, and they'd get paid for it, and they made it a huge business now. That's cool. But they also get free meals out of it. So you get to eat for free, and all you have to do is take some good pictures of these things. The way the food is presented to you is also changing because the chefs are focused on sending out food that photographs well. Now, I don't know if this has happened to you, but you look at something that you've gotten at a restaurant and it looks amazing, and you go to take a picture of it and it comes out terrible in the picture. It looks gross. And I've had that happen. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? Am I holding this wrong? Is the angle wrong? Is the lighting not good? So now they have to send out food that photographs well, all because of Instagram. So this critic, his name is Pete Wells. He's talking, or let's see, hold on. Let's see. The critic's name, is Pete Wells. He's the New York Times restaurant critic. So he says that he's eating a lot of flowers and leaves that don't really taste like much, but they make the plate look so nice. He says most food, when it's cooked, it's brown. So it doesn't even matter. It's all the same. But they put these fancy little colorful pops on the plate. And next thing you know, it looks amazing. And also, if you've noticed, there are some food items that are coming out on boards and slates and rocks. No more plates, because a plate is boring. It needs to look like a presentation. And I've seen this all the time. There's this restaurant in Los Angeles that is so Instagrammable. I see it all the time on my Facebook page. It just has like a giant fork stuck in your steak that might be like 2 feet tall, or you know, a giant mug that has like, you know, dry ice bubbling out of your drink. All these little Instagram moments that you get from eating at this restaurant, and it's like, are you really enjoying eating there, or are you just kind of enjoying all those things, all the meals that you're eating there? Are you really enjoying that? I don't know. If you want to check me out on Instagram, by the way, I'm Rich on Tech. That's me, Rich on Tech on Instagram. And you won't find, let's see, I don't know if I have a lot of photos of my food. Most of the time it's just, let's see, in the last 9 pictures on my home screen, there is not one of food. So there. But I will share them. And the Times critic is also saying that his job is so much easier now because he can just take pictures from his table. He used to have to run into the bathroom and write down his notes about the food. And taking pictures he really didn't want to do because the restaurant would know that he's Mr. Critic. So they would know exactly who's in the restaurant. You know, these critics, they stay anonymous, like the big ones, which is, I don't really understand how that works. But he was saying how it used to be back in the 80s, they would literally photocopy an old picture of a critic from like a book jacket that they wrote before they were a critic for a restaurant or for a newspaper. And these would get passed around restaurants, hung in the kitchen. The servers would have to memorize who these faces were. I mean, that's pretty wild, huh? Now he says it doesn't matter. He just takes pictures like everyone else. They just think he's a random tourist, and he's taking pictures of his food. So now he just writes his notes, takes pictures, doesn't even have to worry about it because they probably think he's on Yelp. So, like everyone is. But I love this tip. He says the most valuable thing a restaurant can do on its website is post the current menu and drinks with prices. That's the thing. You can get everything you need to know about a restaurant on Yelp. The one thing you can't really get a good gauge of is how much the place costs to eat at. And I know they've got those $3 signs, $4 signs, whatever. But I want to know, how much is a steak there? How much is a burger there? But the menus you see on Yelp, a lot of people will take a picture of a menu, but, sometimes they're outdated. So I agree. If you have a restaurant, don't worry about a big fancy website. Just give me the address and give me the menu. And that's all I need. I'll get the rest from Yelp. I'll get the rest from Google. And that's just fine. So save yourself a ton of money on web development. That's all you need. Because realistically, Yelp is really, I know my little trick for Yelp. I always look for the restaurant near me that has the most reviews. And that's the one I usually go to because a lot of people are going there and checking it out and reviewing. You're listening to The Tech Guy. You can call me 1-8888-ASK-LEO. 8888-ASK-LEO is the phone number. The phone lines are open. We'll be taking more of your calls. We've got some calls lined up and ready to go. I'm Rich DeMuro filling in for Leo today. More of your calls after this. Rich DeMuro here with you on a Sunday on The Tech Guy. This is where we talk about technology and answer your questions. Phone lines are open. Just dial us up, 8888-ASK-LEO, 8888-ASK-LEO. I'm in for Leo Laporte today, who's on vacation, and I am filling in for Leo. So it's been a fun time. We've had a lot of different calls, a lot of different topics. And the good news is the show keeps going because if there's gadgets in the world, there's always going to be some sort of issue with those gadgets. We don't like them to happen, but they do, and that's why we're here. So my website, richontech.tv, if you want to learn more about me. But I want to learn more about Tim. He's on in Colorado.
Well, hello. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks so much for calling into the show.
I'll tell you, Leo must trust you a whole lot to let you on.
I agree. Just in the fact that I get to sit at Leo's desk. I mean, come on. I would never let someone sit at my desk. But Leo is this is the kind of good guy he is.
You got him fooled.
He's a great guy. So clearly very fortunate to be sitting here today. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. You're a great guy. You got good fellas. Anyway, I've got a friend that developed a program that Dish bought, and it's called The Guardian. And I didn't know if you had heard about it or not.
It's The Guardian, like TV Guardian. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just automatically takes out all the bad words.
So, bad word. Oh, interesting. Okay, let me pull this up here.
Like curse words.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
stuff that even kids would be, it would, offend parents with kids sitting there.
It's interesting because when you look at some of the shows on cable now, the words that they're allowed to say on those shows, I mean, look, cable is not regulated by the FCC anyway, so it's always been kind of an on your honor system with them.
There's not much of that going on.
Well, no, I mean, now if you watch these shows on like FX and stuff, I mean, it's kind of like they could say whatever they want. I mean, they do say whatever they want, which is pretty crazy. So,
Dish had bought it, and I just wanted to know if you had heard about it.
I haven't heard of it, but I'm looking at the website, and it's an interesting concept. I mean, I've seen several of these throughout the years. These kind of, there's been a bunch of like video sites that will scrub your videos. They play a DVD and it'll skip through the parts that are bad, or the scenes that your kids might not want to see. So I think it's interesting that Dish bought this. I mean, it looks on the website. It says Dish Hopper, so you can get it if you have the Hopper 3. But basically how it works is it monitors for foul language by reading the closed captions data just slightly ahead of the spoken word. And then it automatically blocks the foul language by sending your TV's mute code over the included IR cable. So it's interesting. I mean, it's a weird concept because it's definitely not a smooth concept right now, but the way it was invented. But I think as this is built into apps, it's actually a pretty good idea. But with my kids personally, I mean, I see some of the stuff they're watching on cartoons and I'm like, but it depends on the shows they're watching. So the shows that they're watching, hopefully shouldn't have, if you're doing your job as a parent, and I don't want to get on a parent rant here, but I mean, obviously we can't watch everything our kids are watching. So this is kind of nice, but I guess it's more to enjoy a family movie together. And maybe it has a couple words in there. You don't want your kids, but you have to be pretty hardcore to want something like this. This is a very kind of small appeal, I guess, because I don't know, most people they kind of watch TV and that's it. But it's an interesting concept, and the fact that Dish bought them, clearly they believe in them. And I think this is one of these things. Right now, it's a physical device, except for the hopper. But I think as it's built in more software-wise, I think it can really take off. So, Tim, thanks so much for calling and telling me about this. TV Guardian is the device. So, all right, let's go to Christina. Christina's on in Irvine. Christina, how you doing in Irvine today?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. You're doing a good job.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So my 2010 21.5-inch Mac is at Micro Center. I haven't heard back yet, but I have a feeling it's dead.
Okay. What year is it?
2010, December.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well.
And they told me it's vintage, so okay. But I am considering the iMac Mini. What are your thoughts on that?
Now, when you say iMac Mini, you're kind of mixing two things. There's an iMac and then there's a Mac Mini. So are you talking the Mac Mini?
Mac Mini.
So that's like the little, like it's not, iMac has the monitor built in. This one is just a box. That's the one you're talking about? Okay.
Correct.
What are you going to do with this? It starts at $500. What are you going to do with it?
Just basically, search the web, pay bills, pretty much everything that I do on my iPad, but that I want to sit at a desk and do.
And you have
a larger screen.
Oh, you already have a screen? Is that why you just need this?
I don't, but I found one by HP that I think looks good, and the picture looks good, and it looks like it would suit my needs. So I'm just trying to keep a desktop. I want to stay Mac, and I don't want to spend $1,500.
Well, here's the thing. So how much, you said you don't want to spend $1,500?
Correct.
Well, how much is the monitor that you're buying?
$100, $129 regular price at Micro Center.
Okay, so you've got $129 for the monitor, and then you've got $500 for this device, right? Is that the one you're looking at, the $500 one?
Yeah.
So you're looking at $630 total.
Right.
Now, do you have a key? Oh, plus Apple Care?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So now you're looking at, that's what, another $150? How much is?
Yeah, I'm probably looking at about $800-900, I think, if I do it the way I'd like to do it.
Now, do you have to have a Mac? Is that what you sound like a Mac because you've had this other one since 2010. So you wanted to go the Mac route.
I kind of want to stay Mac because I have so many other Mac products, and I also have a Sony Vaio laptop. So I feel like I have a Windows machine that's got Windows 10, so that's suiting my needs when I need a PC.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at how much, so what's the price that you added up? You said it was going to be.
If I buy the Mini from Mac, I can get like the last generation of it. I don't have to get one of the new ones where a terabyte, I think, is the minimum storage. I don't need that much. So they have a 500 gigabyte one, I think, for $400, and then $100 for the monitor. And then probably $150, I'm imagining, for the Apple Care. So 4, 5, 6, probably 700 to 800, maybe.
Okay, I think the Mac Mini it hasn't been updated in a while. It's not it's definitely not. Let me see. I'm looking at something here.
And I don't really deal with DVDs at all, so I don't. And I have an external drive, and those are cheap enough to get a new one should I feel the need to USB into it. Because I think the Mini has USB ports, doesn't it? Or doesn't it?
It does have some USB on it.
Okay, yeah.
I personally think you're going to be better served with an iMac. I think the iMac is really the flagship right now when it comes to these devices. They just were renewed. You get a much better processor. You get much more storage. You get a cleaner setup because your display is built into the device. Now, this starts at $1,100, so I know that's more, but it's kind of along the lines. And the reality is you're going to want to get that Apple Care on it for you, so that's going to cost a little bit more. But I think you're going to be better served with it, and I think you're going to like it better in the long run because it's going to do so much more for you.
Okay, yeah, and I can make payments, I think, if I buy from Apple, right?
Yeah, it looks like 24 months. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, Christina, that's going to be your best bet because you're already spending the $800, $900. You might as well go a little bit further and get something that's going to be a better value. Thanks so much for the call. The phone number, 8888-ASK-LEO, 8888-ASK-LEO. You're listening to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in for Leo Laporte today, and we are taking your calls and questions about technology. Do you have a gadget that's bugging you? You have an app that you like? I don't know, whatever you want to talk about that you need help with. Give me a call. Phone number is 1-888-827-5536. 888-827-5536. That is the phone number that will get you directly to our wonderful Kim Schaefer. and she will take your call and put it through to me. Well, I love to travel, and it's one of these things where I love it and I hate it. I mean, I love the seeing new places and getting to go new places, but then when it comes to the actual getting there and doing it, it's kind of tough these days with all of the rigmarole of the airlines, the way they have things figured out these days. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to rant about that, but I do want to share a couple of apps that I love when it comes to travel, because I did this one the other day and I just thought it was so amazing. And I want to share it with you guys because I was in San Francisco for, what was I there for? I can't remember, but I'm always up in San Francisco because all the tech companies are headquartered there. So I'm always going up there for something. And in this time, my wife actually met me up there, which was really nice. And so I said, this is the perfect opportunity. Do you mind taking a walking tour with me, honey? And she was like, sure, okay, I guess so. Because I really wanted to try out this new app. It's called Detour, and it's not necessarily new. It's been around for a couple of years, but this was the first time I actually got to try it. Detour is a walking tour app, but it's a walking tour like you haven't really experienced. What it does is it has these tours that you download on the app, and you walk around the city. It kind of guides you around the city, but it uses the magic of your phone to do things that you couldn't do on a normal walking tour. So it knows where you are, number one. So it tells you, hey, start at this location, and it knows how long it's going to take you. So it, you can look up these different tours and see, oh, okay, this one's going to be an hour, this one's 45 minutes, this one's less or whatever. So we chose one. It was for San Francisco, and it was called like the Gray City or something like that, and it was a really cool. It was a little darker than I thought. It kind of started at the beginning of San Francisco and went from there, but it was really gave us a lot of history of San Francisco. But basically, you download the app, you download the walking tour, and in this case, all the tours were free when we did it. You can download them for free, but they do cost money. So they're like, under $10. But the reality is, where are you going to get entertainment for under $10? I mean, that's a very good value, especially when you listen to these things, because they are very well done. I mean, there's audio, there's the narrator, then there's like special effects, there's sounds and voices. I mean, it's really well done. The production quality is very high. So they have 150 audio walks in 17 cities, and I can't wait to try this when I'm in Japan. And it's basically a walk you do yourself with your phone, and your phone leads you around the city, and it tells you what you're looking at and what you're doing, and you can choose various different tours depending on what you're into. If you want to see the architecture, you can choose that. If you want to see all the old bars that a city had, you might have that one. There's a bunch of different way cool things you can do with this. And it's fun because, what do you do when you get to a city? You walk around mindlessly. You don't know what you're doing. You're just kind of walking around looking for the tourist spots and taking pictures. This actually feels like you have a purpose. And it's a really fun purpose because the app, it's all self-guided. But here's the best part. Not only where you walk around, it's synced up to the audio, but you can link up different phones. So my wife had her iPhone, I had my iPhone, and you scan a QR code on, the other person's phone, and next thing you know, all your audio is synced up. That is brilliant. And you can do it for a bunch of different people. So you can link up the phone, the app, if you have a group of, 5 or 6 people, you can all be on the same page and listening to the same audio. I thought this was just fantastic. It pauses when you're at a place where, the audio needs to pause. It does that. And then it restarts when you start walking again. So if at certain points in our tour, there was like, we want to take a coffee break. So we went inside and, we went inside and got some coffee. And when we came back outside, boom, our tour started up again. It was really cool. And, you download the tour before you get there. So that way it's on your phone. Like for Japan, I'm definitely going to download a tour. But they have so many different places. San Francisco. They have New Orleans, which is a fantastic one. Now, I know I did a walking tour, a similar thing with my phone many years ago in New Orleans. I thought it was a great idea, and I downloaded kind of an MP3 of a walking tour, and it was great, but the reality was it didn't know where I was. It didn't stop when I stopped. If you stop walking, the audio kind of stops when it gets to a point where it needs to stop. And it doesn't start again until you start walking again. That's brilliant. Just the sensors that it uses on your phone to kind of go along with you. It's like having a real person on your tour. New Orleans one didn't do that. I was lost half the time. The New Orleans one. New Orleans, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, Tokyo. They have a bunch in Tokyo, which I will definitely take advantage of. London. Oh, my brother just went to London. I should have told him about this. Barcelona. He didn't even know about it. Paris, Berlin. And this is not just an iOS thing. It's on Android as well. And they also they work equally well. The only thing I noticed about the Android version is that you can't link up an Android phone with an iPhone for the sync up, which is kind of unfortunate. I think they'll fix that in the future, hopefully. But right now, you got to have 2 iPhones if you want to do that. I thought this was brilliant. The website is called detour.com, and you can download the app and check it out and see what they have available for the city that you're visiting next. I just love when technology intersects with something that interests me and brings it to the next level, because you can easily do a walking tour anywhere, but to get these tours for such a great value and to be able to do them yourself is really cool. And I think I'm going to do, they've got a fashionistas tour in Japan, an artist tour, War and Peace, Temple Town, and a nerds tour. I think I'll do the nerds tour. Each audio tour lasts 30 to 90 minutes and costs $5 for the Tokyo one. Such a cool idea. And actually, I think the guy who started it, Andrew Mason, he was the guy who did, what was he? He was the guy who did, was it Foursquare? I mean, pretty smart people there. Groupon. He was the guy who started Groupon. So it's smart. I get it. It's kind of the same thing, He's a guy that likes to unlock your city at a reasonable price. Another travel app I really like is called Hopper. This is really cool. By the way, if you want to call in with a question, I'm just kind of going off here on various things that I find interesting. If you want to call in with your tech question, I'm all ears. 8888 Ask Leo. 8888 Ask Leo. I do have time for more calls, so I will take your calls if you have a tech question. But let's get to Hopper. This is a really cool app that I love, because when you travel by air, you want to know, sometimes you need to go on certain days for business, and that's business travel, and that's a totally different thing. But when you're traveling for leisure, you want to get the best price, and you want to fly on the best days, right? And sometimes that can be tough to figure out. So this app takes the work out of it for you. So when you go to Hopper, you can check out the app. You basically see a calendar of the best dates to fly. And then once you pick some dates, it will give you a prediction based on those dates and that place you're going to. It'll say, hey, we think this is a fantastic time to buy your ticket with 88% certainty. So you can see when it's the best time to buy. It'll say, look, we think you should buy your flight right now. And you can watch your flight. So once you do a search, you can watch that route basically and see when it's time to fly. But now they have this new feature called Flex Watch, and this is even better, because here's the deal. Airlines are changing their prices all the time. You don't have the time to see kind of the historical data behind all of these price drops and changes, but guess what? AI does. So now they're using this Flex Watch technology, which basically you say, hey, I want to go to Japan in the next 6 months, and it will actually watch that route for you based on what you want, direct flight, one connecting flight, and it will tell you when to buy that flight based on historical prices. And it's so smart. You can say, hey, I want to go to this whole continent. There's a million different ways. You can do continents, geographic regions, countries, cities, states. Hopper is the app. It's amazing. I use it all the time. Great way to check on travel. Phone lines are open, 888-827-5536. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. We're in the home stretch here of answering your tech questions. I'm Rich DeMiro, filling in for Leo today. It's been my privilege to hang out with you guys on this Sunday. Let's go right to Dave.
Tech Guy, do you have a question for Rich?
Let's go right to Dave in Houston. Dave, you're on with Rich.
How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
Good. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm watching you on the web there too. So no, I don't watch any video, but I listen to different radio stations all around the country. I just look for shows that I want to hear. Go to do a search on to see who's playing it, then go directly to that station, and just listen online. And it varies. It's not any particular station. Although there's a couple of them out of Florida are pretty loud, but I listen to them all over the country. Some are okay, and some are so loud that they're so annoying when the commercials come on. I just either turn it down, miss part of the show, listen to early in the morning, wake people up if it's too loud. It could be podcasts too. Some podcasts are okay, some are not. But it's no video; it's just all audio.
Okay, and so what are you using? iOS or Android?
Android.
Android. Okay. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think what's happening is the podcast, and I'm not, Twit is one thing because they have a lot of professionals here that know what they're doing. So I think mostly you're going to find that things are going to be equalized across the board. But when it comes to like the average Joe creating a podcast, what's happening is they're concentrating on their content, right? They're trying to make their content great. But when it comes to the ads, those are made by professional agencies. So the people there are pretty much, they've got all the settings right and they've got everything figured out. And I think that's why you see the delineation and the change in the audio structure of the podcast to the commercial. And so I think what's going to help you most is really to find a podcast app that will kind of equalize things across the board. And there are apps that do that. I was looking at the one I use on my iOS, which is called Overcast, and they have something called Voice Boost, which basically brings the voices up to a good level across the board. Because a lot of times when you listen to podcasts, things can be all over the place. So it's pretty standard. And for me, part of the beauty of listening to these things is how they are all over the place, because it reminds me that these are real people making real shows. And that's kind of what I like about them. So the more professional sounding is great, but I don't really mind when I hear these things. So I know, you have an Android device, so you can probably do even a system-wide equalizer app. You can find one of those in the App Store or Google Play that will help you equalize the audio across all of your device. And I think that's going to solve it for you. So, Dave, good question. Interesting kind of thought there. But yeah, it happens to all of us. Remember when cable TV did the same thing? You'd be watching a show and then all of a sudden the commercial will come on and it's way louder. And so it's something that's been happening with shows and commercials all the time. It's just the reality of it. All right, Michael is in Des Moines. Mike, you're on with Rich.
Hey, Rich, nice to have you on filling in for Leo.
Oh, thanks. How's the day over there in Des Moines? Am I saying that right?
Another day in the 90s.
90s, man. The U.S. has an interesting weather pattern going on right now. It's like hot in some places, cold. When I woke up here in Petaluma, it was 44.
Wow. Yeah, this is like 4 days of 90s here.
Wow. All right, enjoy it before you know it's going to get cold, so enjoy it.
Yes, it will.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I was been hearing about the Moto X4, and I was kind of wondering what your thoughts of it, and when will it be available, or do you got any idea?
Moto X4, I'm assuming, I got to watch out with these things because sometimes I know stuff that I can't share. I hope this isn't one of them, but I'm going to guess in the next couple months in this thing. So I don't think you're going to have to wait much longer. But yeah, I would say in the next 2 months or so. So, yeah, I mean, obviously these manufacturers want them out before the holidays, and so that's no different with the X4. Now, I love the Moto X was one of the first Android phones I ever fell in love with, like really fell in love with, because I remember the Moto X was like the first pure Android phone that just really did everything so nice. Remember, it had the hands-free, you can activate the Motorola, the Assistant hands-free. I don't know if you had the original version, but it was just fantastic. What's drawing you to this device?
Well, I noticed that it also could support the Google Fi network, and I thought that would be kind of interesting without paying top dollar for the Pixel phones.
Yeah, and so the only thing that I would say about these Motorola phones, and this one is not, they've got these Moto mods that their other line of phones work with, and this one doesn't seem to work with those. This is kind of its own little device, but it's got Amazon Alexa, it's got water resistance, it's got a nice design, glass and metal. It's got the fingerprint reader in the right spot for me, which is on the front, on the bezel, still has bezels, but I'm fine with that. And I love the fingerprint reader in the front. And I think it's really easy. It's got dual cameras on the back, which is really nice. It's got a ultra low light front-facing camera, which is really nice as well, and a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, which is nice too. This is a really nice device. I think you're going to love this thing. It's got the latest Nougat. Doesn't have Oreo on it yet, but not many phones do. It's got an SD card. I mean, really, this is a nice device. I think you're going to be very happy with it, and I don't see any reason not to get it. Now, it hasn't come out yet, but and things can change in the next couple months. But this is a really nice device, and like you said, it works on Google Fi, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and that's the kind of Google's wireless network. Now, why do you like Fi over some of the other networks out there?
Well, I got T-Mobile, and I was thinking that with the Fi, you got more, means it goes over different networks. You're able to have more locations of where your phone would work than just one carrier.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But, you've heard the rumor that that Sprint and T-Mobile are going to merge anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, it's kind of funny because people that are on Fi already kind of have that happening. And next thing you know, I think that, man, I don't know what I think about that. I know it's great for like coverage-wise because Sprint and T-Mobile, when they're together, it's going to be great because you will have coverage in a lot more places. But it's bad for kind of the consumer, the consumer, I guess, what do you call it? Competition, because now you have 3 carriers instead of 4. And guess what? Those plans are going to go up. Now, I'd actually worry about Google Fi in that process because now you have Google Fi kind of, in the limbo because remember, it negotiated these deals with the 2 separate companies. And if they become one, now what happens? But yeah. Well, back to your original question about the Moto X4. I think you're really going to like this thing, and I think that you only have to wait another 2 months for it. What device do you have right now?
I'm using the OnePlus 3 is what I got.
Oh, okay. So you're this guy that likes the unlocked kind of nice stock Android devices. OnePlus 3 was a great device. OnePlus 5 is a really nice device as well. I think the camera is going to be better on this one than it is on your current model.
Now, what would you think between this one compared to the OnePlus 5? Do you think they're equal?
I would go with the Moto X4. I think that the cameras might be better. I had a little trouble with the camera on the OnePlus 5. I thought that it was good, but it wasn't great. And I think that this, I just like what Motorola is doing with their phones these days. And I love the OnePlus 5. I think it's a nice device. I think that the Motorola X4 is going to be a really nice device for a lot of people. So I would stay and wait for this one. You can sign up for updates on the website, but I think it'll be a matter of time, Michael, before it's available. And you're going to be taking some good pictures with this thing and having that nice experience of the near stock Android. I mean, every Motorola device is slightly different when it comes to Android, but it's pretty much a vanilla experience. So that's pretty nice.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
All right, Michael. Thanks so much for calling from Des Moines today. I appreciate it. Man, lots of good questions today. Can we get to one more? Let's see. I'm going to go with, one more. I know this is risking it. Nick is in Wilmington. What's on your mind?
Hey, I know you only got about a minute and a half here. I'm looking for a black and white laser printer. I have an older brother black and white laser right now. What brand do you recommend for lasers?
That's the exact one I have, and I'm looking at it. We probably have the same old one. Mine's worked for like 6 years now. It's pretty simple. It works. It does what I need it to. It prints on both sides of the paper. It was super cheap when I bought it. This one that I'm looking at, the HL L234 2340 DW. It's wireless. It's got duplex printing. This is the one I have, the older model, and it's served me very well. The cartridge, the ink is a little bit expensive, but I don't mind. This thing has been in my office now for about 6 or maybe 7 years, and it's been great. So I say go with another brother, upgrade it, and you'll be great. All right, Nick, thanks so much for calling from North Carolina today. All right, my gosh, that's going to do it for the Tech Guy on this Sunday. What a pleasure it's been to hang out with you guys for the last 2 days. I just want to say thank you to Leo and team for letting me do this. Thanks to Michael, Kim, John, Colleen, and everyone who helped me get on the air here. I'm Rich DeMuro, richontech.tv. Thanks so much for joining me, and Leo will be back next time. Have a great day.
Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.